I suppose in this sort of environment you would expect to see some further buying into the Japanese yen. Would that be a fair expectation?
Well, it's probably a 110, 115 range. That's what we sort of feel. We actually think these levels are fairly decent to buy dollar yen. Of course, we have the geopolitical concerns, the bombing in the UK, and of course, US President Trump's own political issues, which have been weighing on the US dollar, and that is material as well. We feel it's probably time to watch and wait. We are expecting the Fed to hike in June. We feel the market's not pricing these in. I mean, the whole same old factors about the strength of the US economy and the fact that the Fed is underpriced are very much there. But we feel that given the political situation in the US, there is some downward pressure on the US dollar, and we cannot rule out that it will continue in the short term. So we could see a test of 110, perhaps even lower, but we would see that as a buying opportunity for dollar yen.
So don't buy yet, is what you're saying. Wait for further dollar weakness.
Don't sell at 111.
Don't sell at 111. Yeah. So when it comes to the dollar then, how much more dollar weakness are we likely to get before it starts to recover, and what do we need to see that recovery in place?
That's a very interesting question. And I guess the answer is we don't really know. This stuff with the US political situation kind of like came up a little bit surprisingly. It probably has some more scope to run, but ultimately we need to come to a point where the market starts to focus on the economics rather than the politics. And it's difficult to distinguish the whole dollar story because part of it was this whole agenda that the Trump administration would implement fiscal stimulus, which would drive up the US economy and thus take the dollar with it. So we can't really, rule out that the political issues that are going on right now could weaken the US dollar in the short term. But ultimately, we need to come to a point, I feel, where the length of the dollar or speculative positions are completely unwound. And it's interesting because today we checked, and this is really the first month throughout this year that the consensus forecasts for the US dollar have turned bearish. So the average forecaster is now calling for a weaker dollar now for the first time this year. In fact, for the first time in the last 2 years.